making a lot of people behind on their bill. Please look at it again. It can be done. It has 2 years ago, so let's do it again. And City Council also some cards came out in the neighborhood with your name on it. It did not have no website on it. It didn't have a phone number. Some of the people asked me who this person is. They didn't know who you was. They didn't know you were the city council. And maybe when you put that on, whoever's giving me cards out, put your name. Your name is on it, but put the telephone number in the website, and they could find out who you are. And maybe they could call you and let them know how they feel about forgiveness of the water bill. Have a blessed day.
I am Brother Anthony Muhammad. I am a spiritual being having a human experience. I am no longer a believer in religion. I call public to provide you to know that our comments are necessary today. Public Works Department, under the commissioner, I spoke with his assistant, Sabrina Scott, executive assistant. I spoke to Miss Shirley Stroud about the street that I live on, this over street. It has been polluted by the dropping of something that has polluted the road to the point that a public works supervisor, Jerry Parks, came out. And he found that it's in its pavement so deep that it won't come out. It is literally spread all over the street. Almost 3/4 of the street, you see this wave in the street. This has been said over 3 months ago. But Ms. Overstreet, I want to thank you as you collaborated with other members of your staff and other members even of the city council. I had talked about an elderly woman that was suffering from a neighbor's sewer that was broken, and the debris was coming onto her property. She walked down members of the committee and spoke to Brother Muhammad and said, thank you. The woman had fixed her problem and is not coming on my property. And I want to thank Ms. Overstreet for the initiation of it. I want to thank Ms. Overstreet for making known to the Transportation Commissioner, Transportation Chairman of the committee that wants to be mayor, Mr. Dickerson. Herself is the co-chairman. We have money that was always been allocated for the upper class, darker people, the well-off, darker people in that neighborhood, like Cascade Road, Johnson Road, New Hope Road, to get services that we cannot get as a whole for the Atlanta youth and around. And she said something about in North Atlanta, they want to get more money put in their environment before we get access to street sidewalks. And Mr. Chairman of the Transportation Committee, you won't even be. I'm talking to members of the City Utility Committee. Get worried about my family members and my members here on Taylor Road and straighten this street out. Fix this street with the filth that is on it. May I make our hotel? I still am and make them broke.
Is that the end?
Yes, ma'am. I believe that concludes public comment.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And as now we move to section G, which will address some of the comments that we heard today in the presentations that we have. First up is the Commissioner of the Department of Public Works, Commissioner Wiggins, to give us an update on service delivery. Commissioner Wiggins, are you on the line?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. Are you able to hear me clearly?
Yes, good morning. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on the status of yard debris collection. And I will begin with our key challenges. Although employee attendance has improved with the decreased spread of COVID-19, DPW is still struggling to fill critical positions needed for waste collections due to the national shortage of applicants for driver and labor positions. The Solid Waste Association of North America, also known as SWANA, has recognized the hiring of laborers and drivers for solid waste services as a nationwide problem, which is also impacting the city of Atlanta. Both public and private sector collection service providers are facing increased difficulty hiring and retaining collection truck drivers and helpers. The Solid Waste Association of North America recommends to temporarily reduce the frequency or suspend the collection of yard waste and recycling materials. Many municipalities have followed this recommendation as a short-term solution. The city of Atlanta has decided to really stay the course and to see if we're able to consistently provide curbside collections without any interruption in services. In the city of Atlanta, solid waste collections and special operations are currently operating at 79% staffing level and have been trying to fill nearly 70 vacant positions, with over 40 of these positions in the collections operation. Just to put these numbers into context, it takes approximately 70 employees to staff 23 trucks of sanitation crews. DPW has also contacted private waste haulers for support, but they are not typically interested in providing yard debris removal service because of the unpredictability of the size, weight, and type of material that impact the profitability of this service. Employee turnover. The loss of employees has outpaced the hiring of key positions. We have been really successful in bringing on employees through hiring list exercises, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes, but just the loss of employees has still outpaced the loss of employees. We're also competing with outside providers that are offering up to $5,000 sign-on bonuses, which are government agencies and other private sector employers. Employee injuries are on the rise, including snake bites. Many of the injuries are due to the increase of fatigue caused by the extension of work hours. As far as the actions that have been taken, we have used temporary staffing. We have acquired temporary staffing through work source organizations. We're also actively speaking with staffing agencies. However, many of the staffing agencies aren't able to meet their workers' compensation insurance requirements. We have held ongoing hiring blitz exercises. DPW, in partnership with DHR, have held several of these events. Although we've had issues with candidates that failed to appear to these events after being scheduled, we have been able to fill positions through these events. Extension of work hours, including weekends. We've had crews working into darkness. We've also had crews working through the weekend to catch up on the collection of yard debris. So we've had employees that have worked 7 days a week from the time that they arrive to the office into darkness. We've also increased our customer support staffing. We've used staffing from other divisions of DPW to assist with addressing customer concerns and the prompt resolution of open cases. Back in June, DPW set up an emergency operations center that included 311, HR, AIM, and we basically just sat in the room for about a week to identify ways to improve the efficiency of curbside collections and the handling of customer complaints. I believe we learned a lot. We were able to improve the overall efficiency of curbside collection operations, but again, the loss of employees and our staffing challenges still could not overcome the issue that we were able to correct. Use of office staff for field operations. We've used office staff to assist with curbside collections. Many of our team members have driven trucks, performed field inspections, have been very supportive in filling roles that aren't necessarily part of their normal job description. The DPW Safety Department has also provided in-house CDL training courses that has assisted several employees with obtaining their CDL licenses and filling much-needed driver positions. I would also like to mention that an emergency bid for curbside waste collection was issued in February of this year to 7 private waste haulers, but we did not receive any response or interest. I'd like to discuss next steps. Madam Chair and committee members, after several weeks of attempting to remain on schedule with yard debris collections, we just simply learned that we can't work, recruit, or manage through the current staffing issues. Therefore, the bi-weekly collections of yard waste removal must be instituted. I am working with our communications team to ensure that we provide adequate notice to our customers before moving to a bi-weekly schedule. As of now, a tentative date of July 19th has been established. We will also continue to solicit bids for private waste hauling services and temporary staffing support. We're also soliciting bids for other services such as right-of-way maintenance with the hopes of using personnel from other areas of DPW to assist with curbside collections. We will also continue to collaborate with DHR to identify additional recruitment incentives and methods to reduce the time to onboard personnel. We will also work with DHR to develop questions and the exit interview process that will help to reduce the loss of additional employees. Before I conclude, I would like to thank the men and women of DPW that have tirelessly worked to assist with our collection challenges. With that, Madam Chair and committee members, I will open the floor to any questions that you may have.
Hi, let's see, we do have a lineup of speakers, so let's see. First, Mr. Mazikite, followed by Boone.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Commissioner, thank you for this report. I just want to get clear and understand where we are on staffing, and I certainly appreciate the challenges that the current economic environment have. But how many employees do we have that are out on the operational side today, and how many employees do we need to have full operations?
So, as of today, we need about 70 employees to department-wide in the areas of curbside collection. We're short of about 40 employees. And as far as the exact number of employees that we have actively working today, I'll have to get that number to you at a later time, if possible.
Okay, I'm just want to clarify to be sure that I heard you correctly. Did you say we need 70, and we're short 40?
So department-wide, we need 70 employees. Out of the 70 employees, 40 of those employees are labored employees that actually perform the work of curbside collections. The 30 of the 70 positions are support staff of those positions. So in total, department-wide, 70 employees. 40 of those employees approximately are actively working in the field to collect waste at curbside, and the other 30 employees are in support of those employees, whether it's administrative or management employees.
So we need 70, and how many do we have? Well, we need 40 to do the operations. Almost a 1-to-1 supervisory to worker ratio seems very, very high to me. I would ask that you look at that, but the more I hear, the more confused I am. So can you please go through the numbers of how many we need and how many we have today?
Okay.
On the
So we currently, I don't have the exact number of how many we have.
But you can guess. Give me a ballpark. Sure.
Upwards of 330. That includes collections and special operations.
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding, but you said we need 70, and 40 of them are operational and 30 are management. Of that 70, how many do we have
working? No, sir. The 30 employees that aren't directly involved in this field operation, those aren't all management positions. Some of them are administrative positions. So what I mean by in support of those positions, it may be it may be an accountant that helps with payroll processing for the collections operation, or it may be an HR liaison in DPW that works between the Department of Human Resources and the Department of Public Works. So the remaining positions all are in support of collection operations. That includes managerial and supervisory positions.
Okay. This is a little difficult to do over the phone and not face to face. I would ask that you follow up with this committee with the numbers of people in all of the different buckets throughout the department, how many we have and how many we need.
Okay. So as of today, we have 198 employees that are working in collections. The head count for special operations is 130.
Okay. If you could just follow up with this information, maybe we can look at it comprehensively, and that'll answer my question. The next question I have is your plan, which I think is, you have little choice, is to implement every other week on yard waste. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Some of my constituents have been asking the obvious question is, how long will that go on? And they paid for every week. And how do we handle that? Is that just, sort of goes by the wayside, or what do we do about the services that our constituents paid for? And is there any recompense that they would receive? And maybe that's a question for our legal department.
Yes, sir. As far as any questions addressing recompense, I'll have to defer to the Department of Law for that. I will say that we are still staying within our service level agreements as far as the biweekly collections of yard waste. That is not a requirement, although the department has decided to do that as a value add to the service, but weekly collections are not an actual code requirement. To answer your question, as far as the end date in mind for resuming or going back to normal operations as it relates to weekly collections, that will depend entirely on how quickly we are able to address the staffing issues. Again, we're working on identifying recruitment tools, identifying tools to retain our existing employees, but we're just dealing with a situation that is market driven, that we have tried to manage our way through, that we've tried to recruit our way through, we've tried to work faster, we've tried to work longer, but we just simply cannot continue to pick up yard debris at the pace that is being put out. And primarily because of the issues that I mentioned earlier, is that from a staffing perspective, it's very difficult to project the amount of yard debris that's placed at the curbside, the weight, and it's a lot easier to predict with solid waste and recycling collection, being that all of the materials are placed inside of a container. we can predict time and staffing because of the consistent amount of waste as it relates to recycling and solid waste that's placed at the curbside every week.
Yeah, I appreciate the operational challenges that yard waste presents. I just paid my bill, $400 and some, and I'm not. Is that bill for every week service? I guess I would like to hear from the law department about how we handle this.
I believe that the Department of Law is on the line.
Let me see if Commissioner Boone, Councilmember Boone, I'm sorry. Councilmember has anything for the law department as well, or do you want to wait until after the law department?
I can wait. I just wanted to speak with the commissioner. I had a couple of questions for him.
Great. All right. Thank you. All right. So if someone from the law department ready to respond will come online and announce yourself, please.
This is Nina Hickson with the Law Department. Stephanie Grant will be responding, but I would say as an initial matter that we are in the process of evaluating what impact this has in terms of the current charges as well as the current litigation. And so I don't have a definitive answer at this point as to how we're going to handle it, but we are in the process of making that determination, and we'll provide that information once we've finished with that evaluation.
Okay, I think that's fine. If you can just follow up, but the obvious question is, I just paid my bill, and my bill is presumably for every week collection. And if we're not able to provide that, what if anything, is the city doing with regard to the bill? So if you could just please follow up with an answer to that question, that would be helpful. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. And Mr. Evans, please capture that question so we can get a follow-up from the law department. Ms. Boone.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner, first I would like to thank you for your hands-on approach and being out in the field yourself up and down Fairburn and that crosses District 11, 10, Collier Heights, District 9, 10, and Summer 3. We have seen you out there, and we do realize we have a crisis with the laborers, and just your frank honesty has helped us try to come up with alternate ways to get our communities clean. Have you been in touch with HR to find out what is the median time of onboarding folks that want to work in a solid waste space, and what can we do to try to help get folks onboarded? Because right now we have folks working 7 days a week, which is really, really not good for their health.
Yes, Councilmember Boone, thank you for the kind comments. And to answer your question, is the minimum amount of time to onboard an employee is 10 days. And the challenge with that time frame, and although the Department of Human Resources is working very hard and working with the Department of Public Works to onboard employees quickly.
But what is the time frame, though? Because I had a job fair last week, and to be honest, it was not as well attended as I thought it should have been, and your folks were here recruiting. They were recruiting, but what is the time frame that they will give us if we do have a pool of people that want to be hired and need to be hired immediately? Because we are in a crisis with laborers. What is the time frame?
Yes, ma'am. The minimum time frame is 10 days. And oftentimes it will take longer than that because of various issues. The challenge that comes along with that is that our competitors at times are able to move quicker. So during the recruitment process, we have lost candidates to other employees just because we have not been able to move as quickly as we would like to. So 10 days is the minimum amount of time to onboard an employee.
Okay. And who is our contact for recyclables and yard trimming?
Currently, the contact for recyclable and yard trimming would be Josiah Williams.
Okay. And what about collection?
That would be the same person, Mr. Josiah Williams.
Okay. Thank you very much. And again, thanks for your hands-on approach and your honesty about the dilemma we are in at this moment. We have seen some great improvement over here working with our NPU leaders and all of our citizens have just been trying to pitch in and help us out. So, again, thanks for showing up.
Thank you, Councilmember Boone.
All right, Councilmember Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. Wiggins, Commissioner Wiggins. I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what Ms. Boone was saying. I heard you talk about the fact that we're short, and the question she asked was, what does it take for us to get folks hired? And you kind of tiptoed around a little issue that I'm just going to kind of ask openly. The HR department, I was told, I actually talked to a couple of workers with the Public Works Department in the last couple of weeks, but some of them shared their frustration in terms of one of the workers live in my district and his garbage didn't get picked up. Now, he doesn't live on this side of the district. He doesn't work on this side of my district. He lives in another part. But he called me because his trash wasn't picked up. And what was interesting as he began to talk to me, he was saying that he was complaining about the fact that he sent people to the job to get hired that he knew, and that it took so long for the HR department to get back to them, but by the time they got back to them, the folks that went on and got another job somewhere else. So my question is, what is the problem? You said it should take 10 days, but you said, well, but we having some problems there. What is the problem? How do we fix some of these internal problems we're having in terms of why can't we get people hired in 10 days? What's wrong with the HR department that we can't, if we got people that are wanting to work, we can't get them hired? And I know, Mr. Wiggins, I've been out with you, just like Ms. Boone said, and I'm looking forward to working with you as a new commissioner. You talked to me candidly about a lot of things, and some of this stuff is things that just happens in terms of not having enough people. But, you know, we got to deal with the morale of the employees, a lot of different things. And I know at some point you were talking about doing some restructuring of your department. I'm not going to ask you today, but I would like for you to come back, you know, whenever you can in our next meeting maybe, and talk to us about what you've seen in the last 2 to 3 months internally in terms of your department. This department has always been challenged. And so, you know, we're looking for you, and I'm hoping that you can actually do a thorough assessment and determine what some of the things that we need to do to fix it. You know, we know we got short employees, but what are the other things that we need to be doing? So I'm just asking that of you. One, and in particular, if we can't hire people, who are we hiring and where are we hiring them from? Are we hiring them in the same places? Do we need to go look somewhere else to hire folks? Why is it that it's taking us more than 10 days to get people hired based on what this guy told me last week? And so I'm just asking a lot of questions. And I just, you know, I know you're new and you're learning, but there's a lot of stuff that you've got to deal with. This department has been broken for a long time. Just like to hear from you eventually in terms of maybe in the next week or so in terms of how you're going to deal with some of the issues you found.
Yes, ma'am. I will work on getting that assessment over to the committee. I will also ask HR if they would like to add any information as it relates to recruitment that I can add or include with the department assessment that I'll provide to the committee.
Thank you.
And Madam Chairperson, this is Councilmember Winslow. I'd like to be next if there's not somebody else in the queue.
Well, there is someone in the queue, but it's Ms. Boone. Ms. Boone, would you mind allowing Ms. Winslow to go next?
Ms. Winslow, please go next. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to thank the new commissioner because he and I have been out on several occasions. And interestingly enough, one evening I called him about some problem. And he said, well, I'm in the area. He said, come on, meet me over here. And I said, I got to be more careful with him because he's going to have me working like he is. And we're already working. So anyway, it was a Sunday, I think. And he was picking up his sister from the airport. And so he said, well, come on out because I got a few minutes. So he met me out in the field right then, within 15 minutes. So this is the type of hands-on person that we need, that we've been looking for. And so I'm happy to have him. He's really overwhelmed just like the rest of us. We're all overwhelmed. I'm taking pictures of dump areas. First of all, I want to thank Councilmember Shepherd and the other council members when we asked the mayor to find $600,000 for cameras. I'm taking pictures of a location over in Oakland City where somebody within a 2-day period dumped 2 blocks of debris. Over the weekend, I had to take 13 people yesterday. Took us 8 hours. We started at 6:30 in the morning. We didn't finish till 3:30 in the afternoon. Bagging all that stuff up. Furniture just dumped. Everything was just dumped out. So until we start prosecuting people, okay, and this is stuff they've got to pick up. Okay, people, oh my God. So I'm taking pictures so I can show it to Deputy Commissioner Jackie Robinson, okay? This is stuff that's happening all over. It's not just in my district. I'm just taking pictures just to have a story. But this is, when you're down in employees and then, anyway, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. So I'm just hiring a hauler to move the stuff because I don't want people to go back in it and start pulling stuff apart again where I've got to go back and pay people. And it's not because they can't pick it up. It's that they don't have enough people to pick up all the stuff that people are dirtying our city up with. And until we start prosecuting these people, putting them in front of the judge, and fining their behinds. We're going to have to fine them and put them in jail. These people are dirtying up our city. I'm sorry, I'm done. But I'm upset. I'm upset because it's not us that's doing it. It's somebody else. People are working on houses and taking and putting construction debris in some of these places. So I just want to thank the commissioner for doing what he's doing. We got improvements that we need to make. And I've said to him on certain things, we need to have a maintenance plan on certain things. In regard to city-owned property, we need to do that. So there's things that we need to improve on, and I'm hoping we can get to that point. And I'm trying to work with him to find workers as well. Okay? So I'm giving him suggestions, too. So thank you for listening, and thank you for what you're doing, Commissioner.
Thank you, Councilmember.
All right. The lineup is Councilmember Boone, followed Councilmember Shepherd.
Madam Chair, just want to see, is there any way we can get someone from the HR department on the phone? Because I do have some suggestions on maybe just hosting a solid waste job fair where they could screen folks on the spot. We are in a crisis, and we do need to hear from HR.
Mr. Evans?
I'm not aware of anyone on the call now, but I am reaching out to Commissioner Norman to see if he or someone from HR can join.
Thank you. So we'll see if he joins. Thank you, Councilmember Boone. With that, all for now.
That's all, Madam. Just wanted to speak with HR on the marketing for public works. I have folks coming up to me in my community that are interested in being hired, and maybe we could cut through a layer and get some folks hired immediately on the spot.
Okay, awesome. So we will wait to hear from Commissioner Norman or his representative. So stand by. In the meanwhile, Ms. Shepherd.
Listen, I had to put you on the spot again. It's really ironic. I answered the phone as I was listening to you all. A constituent is raising Cain with me about over on the south side, which I knew yesterday. We didn't get our trash picked up last Friday. Over the weekend, their trash has been out. Recycling didn't get picked up by me and I just put my recycling back up. I know y'all are behind, but I just got an irate person who's saying, what is it going to take for us to get our garbage picked up off the street? What happened last week on the south side that we didn't get our trash picked up?
Councilmember Shepherd, I was not aware of that. I do know that we received a lot of calls last week because we were running a holiday schedule where collections had fallen a day behind, but I was not aware that there were areas of your district that had not had their trash picked up, and if you can provide the name of those streets. I came out there immediately.
I mean, she was just livid. I just happened to answer her call and she was livid. So I just got to figure out where that is. I'll contact you as soon as we get off this meeting, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other colleagues with questions? I don't see anybody else in the queue.
Commissioner, let's see.
So a couple of observations. I do concur with my colleagues that, you're likely doing a yeoman's job in tackling this department with all the challenges that you delineated. But I have a couple of observations and concerns. There appears to be, frankly, a disconnect between 311 when constituents are contacting 311 about missed service. The report is often closed out, or there's an indication that the items have been collected when in fact it's still an issue that needs to be addressed. So what are you doing, or what have you done to work with 311 to rectify that kind of situation?
Yes, Madam Chair. Just as recently as yesterday, Ms. Rita Braswell worked with 311 and her customer service team to address that very issue and the timeliness of how we handle complaints. I don't know the outcome of that meeting. I have not had the opportunity to discuss that with her, but I do know she has been actively working, identifying processes, actually mapping out our current processes, how we sign off complaints, how quickly we respond to those complaints. And I will be prepared to give you more information, if possible, during the next meeting, if that's okay.
Yes, that should put on your calendar, give us updates at every meeting until we've gotten around the corner and corrected course with all of the issues that have been identified. So if you'll do that, that would, I think, be helpful. The other question that I have is, we've had instances, and I don't know if this is something that's happened citywide, but there's a complaint about missed service, and then later in the week there isn't a dispatch of a crew to pick up and to address that concern, but they only address that one reported case. And if there are other neighbors nearby who have not reported or who were inadvertently closed out through the 3-1 glitch that we talked about, I'm receiving reports that only that one can that made it through the reporting system gets picked up. The remaining cans on the street or the debris on the street is left behind. Is that something that you're aware of, and what are you doing to make sure that your staff understands? Look around and service the entire street if you notice there's similarly situated, outstanding and unresolved pickup.
Yes, ma'am. That is not an accepted practice. The only time that is allowable is if there was one stop that was missed and if it was picked up on a day following the actual scheduled collection day. So if there was a street that was missed somehow, which that should not be the case, of course, or other houses, I should say, they all should be picked up. So that is not accepted practice, and if that is occurring, we definitely need to know about it in order to be able to address it.
Commissioner, go over that again. So if there is an instance where it is acceptable to just pick up the one can, even though you notice other cans still on the street, explain that again.
No, the only time that is acceptable is there was one stop that was missed, and typically that would be on a day following the actual collection day. So, for an example, if the scheduled collection day was Tuesday for one house or one stop, and we were notified on the following day, that would be the only stop that would be picked up. Otherwise, the entire community or the entire area that was missed would be picked up.
So I'm not a public works professional, but if the situation involves particularly the green cans, I think there are health rationales or justification for making sure you have garbage collecting and standing around. I would look at that protocol to see if you notice that entire street still has their green cans out. I would just, from a perspective of due diligence, pick those up as well. I don't know how burdensome that would be, but it just seems to make logical sense to me. So I would like for you to help me understand that. We can talk about it offline, but I encourage you to look at ways to pick up the entire street if you have any indication that anything on that street is not being serviced. So, FYI.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
All right. So the other report I had recently was, I don't know if it was a blue or green can or yard trimming, so I apologize for that, but I understand that there was a situation where there was only a driver dispatched. There was no one in the back to help, so this one driver was actually doing everything. Does that ever happen, and if so, why?
Yes, ma'am, that does happen at times, and it's because of the staffing shortage. So the only time that should occur is if that driver is going directly to a missed site. But a single driver should not be canvassing an entire route especially for solid waste collection.
Okay, that makes. Go ahead.
And I just wanted to mention that we do have automated trucks that are operated by a single driver, but there is basically a robotic arm that is able to pick the trash can up. And so that is the only other instance of where a single driver is picking up trash.
Yeah, I've seen those, and that wasn't the instance that I described, but I understand it was a one-off or an emergency response kind of situation, and I can certainly understand that. 2 points, and I think we just need to have ongoing dialogue. We had an entire street where there was some confusion around whether or not this street was eligible for curbside pickup. Turned out that they were. They've been serviced for many, many years. There was some glitch in the system. I would offer that in the abundance of caution, if they're green cans sitting on the curb, I would say that it would be prudent to pick those cans up as the dispute continues, and if it turns out to be an error, that there be some way to, capture the cost or something. But in the meanwhile, we cannot have garbage on the street. So I'm talking specifically about Lucy Street, to be specific, if you want to go back and check what happens there and see if that has any citywide application to make sure that we aren't incorrectly penalizing constituents. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. We'll follow up by email today.
All right. Last point, and then a comment. I guess 2 points then. When you talk about the difficulty with having contractors come in for emergency or supplemental services, I'd like for you to unpack at your next report what are some of the hindrances to have companies offer themselves to bid for those opportunities. Is it a delay in payment situation? Is it a staffing situation? I think it's easy to say something is the problem without specifically knowing what is the problem. So I would like to understand better what are some of the hindrances to us being able to get this supplemental help. So I'm not asking you to respond to that. I'm just asking you to let us know more about that situation the next time.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. And then my last observation, and I am impressed that a number of my colleagues are very happy with your responsiveness. I will just add as a sort of a cautionary tale, there have been extreme delays in your response to emails and follow-ups from me and my staff, and I know that you're busy, but just an email saying I'll get back to you, or I've read it, I'm going to respond, but there have been multiple days that go by and no response. And so I don't know what you need to do or how that happens, but we have, accountability on our side as well. And so when there's a gap in responsiveness, then that trickles down to the perception that we're not being responsive. So really need your help in making sure that that's not going to be a chronic problem. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. I apologize for the delay, and that won't be an issue moving forward.
Thank you so much, sir. So are you willing to come back at our next meeting and continue coming to our meetings to provide updates until we turn a corner on the situation?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, colleagues. There's no more questions in the queue, so let's move on to our next update. Oh, Ms. Boone, thank you.
Madam Chair, I think we do have HR on the phone. I do want to speak with them.
Very good.
Good morning. Jeffrey Norman.
Good morning. Yes, good morning.
Yes, Commissioner, this is Councilmember Boone, and just wanting to talk with you a little bit about what we can do to assist Public Works with emergency help with respect to labor. Is there any way we can have a job fair marketing? We are hiring laborers, and is there a step in your process that would allow us to hire them quickly? We are in a dire need of laborers right now.
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Boone. So we have been engaged in the process of, continuing to participate in job fairs and actually setting up opportunities to do efficient screening of candidates for existing positions within the Public Works organization. We have also begun engaging in identifying partnerships with some local groups within the community that we also think can serve as a readily available pipeline for immediate identification of potential candidates. So we do continue developing those partnerships. Another thing that we have done, we have recently updated the DHR public-facing homepage. And so you will see on that page, while, traditionally there has been a link for, all city job opportunities, we have placed specific emphasis with quick links on that page to identify, for example, the environmental service worker position as well as, positions within public safety. And so we do plan on making sure we do continue to provide that pinpoint focus. But to answer your question, yeah, we are definitely moving forward with all of those types of opportunities to continue to accelerate hiring in those areas. Obviously, we're trying to balance that along with attrition within the department, and as well as, helping to balance the fact that we do have a, significant percentage of, current employees who are utilizing and calling out sick, which also reduces the availability rate on a daily basis. But we are going to continue to identify those partnerships, and we do have the ability to get those through pretty quickly. We just need to make sure we're identifying the right candidates, getting them through the respective testing, so we can get them onboarded.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. So, suggestion, there are a lot of folks that are still not online and just would like to show up and would be good workers. Is there any opportunity that we could assist, especially in the solid waste space? Folks still are intimidated by going online, filling out applications. Is there a opportunity where we could market a solid waste job fair and try to get some folks in here to give our people some relief?
We definitely can assist with that, and so we have. In fact, it is not unusual for us to conduct the job fair and make sure that we have on-site resources so that we can address that very issue to ensure that folks can be assisted on-site with making sure that they're able to submit and receive assistance with that application process. And so we will coordinate to make sure that we do market a job fair where we do have those on-site resources so we can assist folks and allow them to make their way through the process.
Well, thank you. I definitely would be willing to help, and I'm sure my colleagues would be willing to help recruit people to attend those job fairs. So I will give you a call later on in the week to see if we can set up an outside event somewhere out in the community.
Okay. We will start planning for that, and I look forward to speaking with you later this week.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Councilmember Boone, for a novel approach, much needed, and look forward to the results of that. Anything else, colleagues? Am I missing anybody in the speaker queue, Mr. Evans?
No, I don't see anyone who's indicated they wish to speak.
Okay. Very good. Let's move to the People TV update, please. Part 2. Creighton, are you on the line?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
This is Patricia Creighton with People TV. Doing part 2, a do-over from the 29th General Quarterly Report. I've got the email. I didn't hear you.
Oh, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. I've got the email from Ms. Harris indicating the things that she wanted me to cover in this do-over. And the first thing is the financial. She put down the financial report, which includes the up-to-date expenses from the 2021 City of Atlanta allotment. I've sent over an expense by vendor summary that I've used QuickBooks, and it's indicating the things on there. Adobe, Chick-fil-A, $2.71 charge, the Comcast, CRL Corporation, Dish Network, Georgia Power, bookkeeping with Intuit, Kroger, for cleaning supplies, Microsoft, Norton, UPS, and then a $42 for some office supplies that wasn't actually noted on there. So those are the expenses that they came up. It didn't include the rent, which is $8,798 a month. It comes out to $105,579 for the year. Payroll is $76,000 for the year. That total comes to dang, I didn't put that total down. Well, I also added the taxes, the Department of Labor, $5,744, federal taxes, $16,588, and the Georgia state taxes, $4,208. That grand total is $211,660.80. And the city, the allotment from the city is $180,000. That's $31,660 left. Not left, but that's the deficit from the $180,000. So I hope that clears up what we do with the $180,000 that we get from the city. I don't know if she's on the line to see if that'll suffice, but I'm going to go on. She also asked for provide details on any new equipment implemented to date. We have not implemented to buy any new equipment as of the date. Agendas and minutes, I did add agendas in the meeting, in the report, the 3 April, May, and June agendas. There were no minutes. Well, they were sparsely minutes, I put it like that. The board meetings are held every third Wednesday of the month. There were 3 scheduled board meetings since the last quarterly report. At the April 21st meeting, we had a quorum. No business was handled. All items were tabled due to a noise situation of one of the participants. We found out later that one of the producers was online and didn't realize that she had the phone line open, and we couldn't get her attention until afterwards. The May 19th meeting was canceled by Dr. Wilson due to a health situation, emergency. The June 16th meeting was held. During the 16th meeting, there was a quorum, and we actually elected a new board member, Mr. Wise Morrow. He was appointed to the board, and that made a total of 10 active members and 1 member, Mr. Stetson White. He is inactive, but he's still on the roster. She asked me to do a deep dive presentation of our board operations. Valencia Goodman is our fund chair of the fundraising committee, and she's assisted us in having applied for the Fulton County Arts and Cultural grant. We are actually waiting to hear the award letters, and instructions should be announced the middle of July. So we're hoping that we are granted that grant. We also she reported that there is reported that a GoFundMe account that would serve People TV well. She says that that's the online fundraising that she will put in place. Mr. George Andrews of Unity Bank, I've been talking with him regarding the American Rescue Plan funds that are available. He indicated that we definitely would have qualified for that due to the hit that we took with the virus, how our numbers have gone down dramatically as far as the classes and the producers actually doing a show, and much needed equipment. So that's impending. I'm hoping that we will actually get a chance to take advantage of that. Like I said, I added the 3 agendas on there in the report. Now, relocating, that project has been an ongoing situation with People TV for some time. But we are working with Troy Morris and Andra Cunningham of T. Dallas Smith Company. And we have actually toured several of the locations here on the list. I do have some great potentials in 3 of them. We have not finished. We will be finishing up the list tomorrow. And hopefully we'll be able to relocate and cut the rent in half or even more. Ms. Harris indicated she wanted to know if we were going to do any workshops and training. We have never stopped. We didn't stop the training during the pandemic. The numbers of participants dropped drastically. One class, I think we only had 2 people in there. And we practiced safe distancing while the training, of course, and deep cleaning with products that claim to kill the virus, wiping down the equipment. I even burned sage to clear the air. And we have a portable air filter that we move around the studio as needed. The situation, we have a 2-person operation here, and I plan to change that to extend our operating hours and days. I've got a 3-month plan put in place with 2 new employees for training, an editing instructor that will bring more money in, and a facilitator to oversee live production that will actually give us an opportunity to open up more days of the week. Terrence Sumlin, Kaya Redding, and Mr. Michael McMahon will continue being a programmer. He now is doing those 3 jobs and getting paid, so now I'm just breaking it down so we'll have more people, and Mr. McMahon will just do programming. Management training, I attend classes with the SCORE program periodically, different things that help small businesses. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the SCORE of Metro Atlanta. And the new equipment, we have not implemented any new equipment as of today. And last but not least, workshops training. All right. And again, I want to just point out the fact that we had a nest egg of funds set aside to be able to move and get new equipment and hire new people. But since we went through the agreement process and was not paid for those 9 months, it ate up all of that money that we had gotten from the small business associate loan, rather. And so now we don't have that nest egg, so I am asking that the city would consider paying us those 9 months that we did not receive any payment during the negotiation of the contract, the agreement. I feel that money is due us since we did perform as stated in the franchise agreement. Our balance in the bank today is $52,920. I'm not sure if we're going to get another payment in September or not. I have not been compensated that with Ms. Harris yet, but we did set up the automatic direct deposit account with the bank. Now, my calculations show that the 9 payments that we did not receive at $15,625 that we were getting each month, that would come out to $125,000. And again, I feel like that money is due us. Answer Mr. Howard's statement on public comment about having council people doing a show. The invitation was open to every council person, and Mr. Howard never asked me anything about the NPUs I will reach out to them, though, to see if they want to come on and do some programming. I have no problem with that. We need content. So I am willing to open up the process to them and anybody else that's willing, nonprofit, to come on to help put content on the station. I am open to questions or suggestions, and I think that is the end of my report. Thank you. Hello?
Yes, no. Colleagues, with any questions about People TV? All right, Ms. Clayton, thank you for providing a more detailed report this time. It appears that the duty and the agreement with People TV includes an expectation that People TV will do extensive.
Hold on, Madam Chair, you're breaking up.
Yeah, is this better?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, and I just got bumped off the system. Oh, my bad. No, I was saying that one of the expectations around the relationship between the city and People TV was the expectation that People TV, through your board or staff, as it may be, will be engaged in active fundraising. So it sounds, and I may be mishearing this, but it sounds like the focus is on fundraising from the city of Atlanta. We should be included in your fundraising efforts, but should not be the extent of it. So I encourage you to pursue grants and other opportunities for generating funds, because the city of Atlanta's ability or aptitude, interest to continue to be your major funder may not always be in place. And so we have asked that of the People TV board for many, many years, and we need to see the fruit of that in this ongoing relationship. So that's one observation. May have others that I'll speak to you about offline, but specifically the fundraising efforts of your board need to be increased.
I agree, Madam Chair. And also we do have we haven't finalized anything, but we're going to do a pop-up. We're putting in place a pop-up event where vendors can come and put their tables up and their wares out, and we'll get a percentage. They'll pay us for the table of the space that they're going to be using. And as one of the councils said some time back, I remember, said, and if we could just sell some hot dogs to make some money, and we definitely intend to sell some type of food product to also to do this event. But this is something that we are talking with the fundraising committee chair, Valencia Goodman, and the secretary of the board, and myself, and Dr. Wilson, on getting some type of event to do a fundraiser for sure. Especially if we pinpoint a place to relocate, we will be able to do some furniture, tables, and things that we don't need, do a liquidation on those with the event also. I'm truly projecting that maybe we'll have some place to relocate by September. And so this will be a big event. So hopefully that'll be in place. But yes, I do agree that we will definitely do better at fundraising.
Okay, those sound like emergency efforts, and it sounds interesting, but you need sustained funding. So I hope that you and your board are doing a deeper dive into how you can have a consistent fundraising plan. I'm not asking you to go into details today. I'm just saying that that's an expectation, and so far there are some opportunities for the board to do more. My second comment relates to the lack of minutes. You are receiving funds from the city. There's an expectation that there is an open record, open meeting. I know you've given us the schedule of your meetings, but the secretary of the People TV board needs to take responsibility for documenting actions that are taken and reporting them in a very public way So I hope this is just a housekeeping issue and that the records exist. But it is important that that be followed very consistently so that the expectations around the reporting of minutes from meetings be provided to the public.
I will definitely relay that information on to the secretary and let her know the importance of it, and so we can do better starting July's board meeting.
All right, thank you very much. And I don't see any other speakers in the queue, so thank you very much, Ms. Clayton, for this update.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Next item is the consent agenda. Mr. Evans, please.
Thank you. Item number 1, 21-0475, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year 2022 water and wastewater renewal and extension budget in the amount of $10,400,000.00 to transfer funds from the watershed reserves for appropriations and add funds to the Program Management Services Team project and for other purposes.
Thank you very much. Reading Section I, ordinances for second reading.
Item number 2, 21-0437, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year 2021 Water and Wastewater Renewal and Extension Fund and Series 2020 Water and Wastewater Drawdown Taxable Revenue Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act Bond budget in the amount of $141 million.00 to transfer funds from watershed reserves and Series 2020 Water and Wastewater Drawdown Taxable Revenue with the bond for appropriations and add funds to the North Folk Storage Tank and Pump Station project and for other purposes.
All right. And Commissioner Browning is available to speak to us about this paper. Commissioner?
Good morning, Madam Chair and council members. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
All right, good morning, everybody. The purpose of this legislation is to appropriate and add additional funds for the North Fork Storage Tank and Pump Station project in an amount not to exceed $141 million. The project will be funded utilizing the WIFIA Master Bond Agreement appropriations. This project will consist of the construction of an offline 15 million gallon storage tank and 75 million gallon per day pump station to attenuate peak wet weather flows along the North Fork Peachtree Creek branch of the Peachtree Creek trunk system. This project is necessary for continued compliance with the First Amendment consent decree and to mitigate sewer overflows and add immediate additional system capacity. A 100% design was completed in April of this year, and the project is ready to initiate procurement phase for construction services. Subject to your questions, this completes my project overview.
Colleagues, any questions for the Commissioner, or I'll entertain the motion?
Move approval. Move approval.
Councilmember Matt.
Second, Matt Sky.
Okay, who made the initial motion?
Sure, perhaps.
Okay, all right. Dave, seconded by Mr. Mazakai. Colleagues, any questions? All right, just readiness, please. Opens the vote.
The vote is open.
Ms. Winslow, how do you vote? In favor. Thank you very much. Let's see, Ms. Shepherd, how do you vote?
Madam Chair, I've told Councilmember Shepherd will be away for the remainder of the meeting.
All right, Mr. Hillis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Is that every member? Okay.
The vote is closed. It is going to be 6 yeas. Wait, did we get Councilmember? Yes, 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you very much. That's unanimous, and that stands approved. Next item, please.
Item number 3, 21-00438, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee to execute an agreement for RFPS 1210111 Green Infrastructure and Landscape Services with ELC RAC joint venture on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management, the Department of Parks and Recreation, and the Department of Public Works for a term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options retroactively effective from June 17, 2021, and an amount not to exceed $8,865,000.00, subject to and expressly contingent upon the adoption and approval of fiscal year 2022, 2023, and 2024 budgets in accordance with Section 2-1163, subsection C of Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, to ratify any services rendered from June 17, 2021 until the date the agreement is executed. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund department, organization, and account numbers listed and for other purposes.
Hi, Mr. Todd Hill.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. This legislation is for our green infrastructure maintenance and landscape contract. This actually replaces the one that we currently had that was only for DWM projects and allows us to have it with other city departments, Parks and Recreation, and the Department of Public Works. And this will allow us to continue maintaining our green infrastructure that has been installed throughout the city, plus any additional that we install, as well as maintenance that's needed for our grounds and other grounds throughout the city.
Do you have the iPro for this paper?
No, ma'am. We do not. The iPro was not approved. Y'all did not have it by Friday, I believe.
Okay. So I appreciate your going over this. And so without the iPro, I'm going to make a motion to hold this paper.
Second.
Who was the second?
Hillis.
Hillis, Councilmember Hillis. So the motion before us is to hold. Are there any questions or unreadiness? If not, please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Shook votes aye.
Thank you.
Matt Sakai.
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Winslow? Ms. Winslow?
In favor.
All right, thank you. Is that everybody? I think the vote.
Councilmember Boone.
Ms. Boone, she was on the system.
Okay, now the vote is closed, and it's going to be 6 yeas and 0 nays.
All right, thank you. That's unanimously approved to be held. Thanks. The next item. Under resolution.
Item number 4, 21R3672, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee to execute an agreement for IFBC 1200369 landfill and airport slope mowing and clearing with Genesis Testing Services, Inc. on behalf of the Department of Public Works and the Department of Aviation for an initial term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options and an amount not to exceed $664,250.00. All contracted work to be charged to and paid from the fund department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
All right, let's hear from either Ms. Whip or Mr. Miller, or both.
One moment, we'll confirm if they are on the call.
Good morning. This is Carla Lipscomb with the Department of Public Works.
Good morning.
Good morning. This contract is for Genesis Testing Service to provide foot mowing and land clearing for the Department of Public Works and the Department of Aviation Facilities and Grounds. It is a 3-year contract, and they will provide maintenance for the 4 landfills and help us to meet state and federal maintenance requirements. The slope mowing will include heavy brush, saplings, removal of vegetation, clearing culverts, and fence lines.
All right, thanks. This contract covers multiple departments, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And those departments are?
Department of Public Works and the Department of Aviation.
All right, thank you. Colleagues, any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Approval. Second, Matzkite.
Okay, moved by Mr. Shook, seconded by Mr. Mazzakite. Unless there are any questions, let's go ahead and open that vote.
The vote is open.
Ms. Winslow, how do you vote?
In favor.
Thank you. Mr. Hillis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you.
The vote is closed at 6 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, that's unanimous approval. Thank you. Next item.
Item number 5, 21R 3674, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee to execute the First Amendment to Agreement FC 10649, annual contract for painting and pressure washing services with A&D Painting, Inc., on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management, to add funding in an amount not to exceed $1,550,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund department organization and account number listed herein and for other purposes.
Thank you. Quentin Fletcher, are you on the line?
I believe Derek Stewart is going to speak to this paper.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Good morning, Madam Chair and council members. This is Director Derek Stewart, Department of Watershed Management, speaking on behalf of the Deputy Commissioner Quentin Fletcher. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
All righty. The purpose of this legislation is to request authorization to execute the First Amendment to Agreement FC 10649, annual contract for painting and pressure washing services for painting. Services should also include pressure washing, cleaning, sanding, sealing voids, scraping, and caulking of all areas prior to painting. The City of Atlanta Department of Watershed Management is responsible for maintaining the various water and wastewater treatment facilities. This annual contract performs repairs and services on an on-demand basis. Subject to any question, this concludes my request.
All right. Questions? If not, I will entertain a motion. I'll move approval.
Second, Matzkite.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and seconded. If on readiness, please open that vote.
The vote is open.
All right, Ms. Winslow, how do you? Mr. Hillis, how do you vote?
In favor. I'm sorry, in favor.
That's no problem, Ms. Okay.
Hillis, aye.
Thank you. That's everyone.
Councilmember Shook.
Mr. Shook, thank you. Mr. Shook? Mr. Shook. All right, let's go ahead and close the vote.
Okay, Okay, the vote is closed, and it's 5 yeas and 0 nays.
All right, thank you. That's simply approved. Thank you. Next on.
Item number 6, 21R3675, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee to execute the First Amendment to Agreement FC 10470, annual contract for incinerator maintenance, repair, and replacement services with Industrial Furnace Co., Inc., on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management to add funding in an amount not to exceed $1,500,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the Fund Department organization and account number listed herein and for other purposes.
All right, who's going to?
Derek Stewart again.
All right. Stewart?
Good morning again, Director Stewart.
Yes.
The purpose of this legislation is to request authorization to execute the First Amendment to Agreement FC 10470, annual contract for incinerator maintenance, repair, and replacement services to ensure continuous operation and fulfill compliance requirements. Specialized services are needed to maintain the incinerators. Such services include preventative, corrective, and emergency maintenance. This request is critical as the city must meet the requirements of the NPDES permit issued by Georgia Natural Resources Environmental Protection Division. Under these permits, the city is required to maintain critical systems to meet discharge limits to protect the public health and the Chattahoochee River water quality. Subject to any questions, this concludes my request. Thank you.
Stewart, colleagues, are there? Motion approved.
Second, Master.
Thank you. I think Mr. Master beat Mr. Hillis. So, been properly moved and seconded to approve this item. Unless there are any questions, I don't see any. So please open the vote.
Shoku's back on the call, votes aye.
Thank you, sir. Did you want us to, well, wait a minute. Oh, Ms. Winslow, how do you vote? In favor. Ms. Miller, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, thank you. I think that's everyone.
The vote is closed. It's 6 yeas and 0 nays.
I think that's unanimous. Mr. Schultz, did you want us to go back to the previous paper since you were bumped off consider and include your vote?
No, thank you. Just, I guess I'll be marked down as away or absent.
Or a system error. How about that? But anyway.
Sounds good.
Yes, thank you. All right, let's move to the next item, please.
The next item is item number 7, 21R3676, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee to execute an agreement for IFBC 1210227 maintenance agreement for permeable pavers with Ed Castro Landscape, Inc. on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for a term of 2 years with two one-year renewal options in an amount not to exceed $400,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the Fund Department organization and account number listed herein and for other purposes. I just received a message that this paper will require an IPRO too because it's $1.6 million over the life of the contract, and we do not have that.
All right, so I'll make a motion to hold for that purpose.
Second.
And properly seconded. Are there any questions? Speakers in the queue, so please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Ms. Winslow, how do
Go ahead.
Hold. All right, thank you. Ms. Winslow? And Mr. Hillis?
Aye.
Did you say aye, Mr. Hillis?
Yes, aye.
Okay, cool. Ms. Winslow, thank you, Ms. Hillis. Mrs. Winslow?
In favor.
Thank you very much.
The vote is closed and 6 yeas and 0 nays.
I have unanimously approved to hold. Thank you very much. Next.
Next item is item number 8, 21R3677, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee to execute the First Amendment to Agreement FC 10643, annual contract for Canadian geese removal services with Atlanta Animal Evictions, Inc., on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management to add funding in an amount not to exceed $157,550.00 to correct an error in the name of the contract. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund department organization and account number listed and for other purposes.
All right, who will speak to us on this paper?
Good morning, Madam Chair and council members. Director Derek Stewart, Department of Watershed Management.
Yes, sir.
The purpose of this legislation is to request authorization to execute the First Amendment to Agreement FC 10643, annual contract for Canadian geese removal services. The City of Atlanta Department of Watershed Management provides geese removal at various water and wastewater treatment facilities for the Office of Water Treatment and Reclamation. Each of our facilities have large bodies of water that the Canadian geese have inhabited. The geese are a nuisance and create issues with the water and wastewater treatment processes. The purpose of this contract is to perform non-lethal capture of the geese at these facilities. May I reiterate? The purpose is to perform non-lethal capture of the geese at the facility. Once we open the world back up, I think it's something we definitely might want to look into. You guys having a tour or something to see. It's definitely something to see. Subject to any questions, this concludes my request. Thank you.
All right, thank you. How often so are there traps put out? Is this something that's done weekly, monthly? How often do they come out and check for the geese?
So we try to do it monthly, or as much as possible. What happens is what they're doing is they have several dogs that's kind of pinpointing where the eggs are. And what they're doing are moving the eggs. But once the eggs are moved, pretty much, the geese stop coming back around the area. And I will say, these Canadian geese are smarter than they look, I tell you. So, like I say, they'll find a way to try to maneuver around even the contractor. But he's very experienced, very talented, and like I said, it's definitely a sight to see. And hopefully we can set up something maybe in the near future for you guys to see. It's very entertaining.
Okay, all right. For the next group lovers on the committee, we might want to do that, y'all. You might want to look at film. It might be something interesting for the public to see on Facebook, social media, or even Town 26. So that's interesting. So, all right, colleagues, we've heard from Mr. Stewart. Any questions, or I'll entertain a motion?
Move approval, Madam Chair.
Second. All right, I'll second it. This has been properly moved in second. Seconded colleagues, any questions? I see no speakers, so please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Thank you. Ms. Winslow.
In favor.
Thank you. Mr. Helper.
Aye.
Mr. Struck?
Yeah, I'm just got back on after the 18th time. What are we still on the goose paper?
We are. The Canadian newspaper, yes.
So you're voting aye?
Well, I had some questions, but was cut off. So.
Well, so can we vote and hear your question, and then if we need to reconsider, do that?
Okay, but are we, and I'm sorry, are we voting on the goose paper right now? I'm sorry, you broke up.
Yes, we are. And I was saying, can we complete this vote, and if we need to reconsider, we can come back to.
No, that's fine. I'll vote aye.
Okay, you're voting aye. Okay. Did I get everyone? Has everyone voted, Mr. Evans?
Yes, everyone has voted, so it's 6 yeas and 0 nays.
All right, it's unanimous, and it's been approved. Mr. Shook, please ask Mr. Stewart your question.
Yeah, thank you. And perhaps this was answered already, but so they get trapped, and then what?
Pretty much, they kind of just run them away. It what happened, because we try to trap them. Councilman Shook, it'll be, oh my goodness, I would have to ask, be respectfully requesting another property. But what happens is that the dogs chase them away, and they actually track down the egg. And what they do, he replaced the egg with a fake egg. Long story short, and eventually they move on.
Wow. Okay.
But they're but I tell you, they're very intelligent. They are definitely smarter than what I ever gave them to be. So they find different ways still to relocate. We find out where the nesting area is, and pretty much kind of disturb the area is what we're doing.
If they can't tell that their eggs are fake, I'm not sure about their intelligence.
Point made.
So, yeah, and then just a final observation, and I think I made this point last time. So as not to create an international incident, they are Canada geese, not Canadian.
Correct. You are correct. You are correct.
Okay, thank you.
The vendor actually brought that to my attention. You're absolutely correct.
So, Canada, what's in the caption if that's a point of national security? Make sure Mr. Evans said if we need to change, it says Canadian, say Canada.
Right, that is the current name of the contract, and this paper will change that. So it's captured as it is currently in the caption, and the act of passing the paper will change the name of the contract.
So that's more of a scrivener's error, and we don't need to do an amendment to the caption or to the paper?
No, we don't need to correct it because it's accurately reflecting what it currently says, and then the paper will change it.
Gotcha. Okay, and we'll make that correction moving forward. Okay, thanks. The next thing, Mr. Stewart, that you may not have heard was Mr. Stewart suggested that we may have a field trip to actually look at this process. And I said maybe capture it on film and put it on social media in Town 26. That's interesting. So that's in for a possible field trip.
I'll bring my fishing rod.
Thank you all.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Moving to item 9, please, Mr. Evans.
Item number 9, 21R3678, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor to execute the Second Amendment to Agreement FC 9696 Solar Energy Program with Cherry Street Capital, LLC, to include the Department of Enterprise and Asset Management as an additional authorized user of services to add additional systems, facilities, and sites, and remove certain systems, facilities, and sites, resulting in an overall contract amount not to exceed $118,158,218.00, subject to and expressly contingent upon the adoption and approval of the fiscal year budgets for each year of the agreement, to authorize the assignment of the agreement from Cherry Street Capital LLC to Cherry Street Asset Management Holdings LLC. Contracted work shall be charged to and paid from the funding numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
All right, Commissioner Browning.
Hey, good morning, Madam Chair, council members. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right, this is Nikita Brown, and Commissioner for Department of Watershed Management. Purpose of this legislation is to seek approval for Amendment Number 2 to FC 9696 Solar Energy Program with Cherry Street Capital LLC. Resolution 17-R-3510 committed the city to transition to 100% clean energy for municipal operations and 100% clean energy for citywide consumption by 2035. In accordance with that commitment, the agreement provides for solar photovoltaic installations at various city properties. Amendment Number 2 seeks to add the Department of Enterprise and Asset Management as an additional authorized user of services at 10 watershed facilities and amend the existing site under the agreement, which will help to save money, solidify predictable rates, and increase DWM's use of renewable energy. Again, the agreement requires no capital investment from the authorized users, only a commitment to purchase the solar power generated from the installation. This has a not-to-exceed amount of $118 million. Approximately $105 million is attributable to DWM sites listed in the table of the resolution. The agreement is for a term of 20 years, which commenced in December 2017. And the not-to-exceed is for the whole 20-year period, subject to budget approvals each year. And subject to your questions, this completes my project overview.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, any questions for the Commissioner?
Move approval, Matsukai.
Thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Shaw. Colleagues, questions? If not, up for a vote.
The vote is open.
Winslow has a vote in favor. Tell us, you vote.
Aye.
I thank you. I think that's everyone. Are we wait? Okay.
Madam Chair, have you voted?
I have not. Thank you. Thought I made the motion. I like it so much.
All right, the vote is closed, and it is 6 yeas and 0 nays. Yes, 6 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, thank you very much. Commissioner, will we be able to see the benefit of this solar program through reductions in our overall utility costs?
Yes, ma'am. We are anticipating to a reduction over the 20-year period. So DWM, for example, we spend about $15 million per year just on power utilities. And so if we use the more renewable energy through the solar power, we're anticipating to see a savings of $7 to $10 million over the 20-year period. That's just projected. And within the first year, I think the estimated savings is about $255K. So we're very optimistic that this is going to be cost effective for us.
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of solar energy, and I wanted the public to hear that. So thank you very much, Commissioner. Looking forward to seeing these results. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Moving. So that is unanimously approved. Next, item 10, please.
Item number 10 is 21R3679. A resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee to execute the First Amendment to Agreement FC 1190453 with Atlas SSI, Inc. on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management to add funding for traveling screens and repairs in an amount not to exceed $925,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the Fund Department organization and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
All right, Ms. Berry again. Hey, Mr. Stewart, I'm sorry.
Not a problem. Director Dennis Stewart, Department of Watershed Management. The purpose of this legislation is to request authorization to execute the First Amendment to Agreement FC 1190453 with Atlas SSI for maintenance, service, and repairs to traveling screens and bar screens on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management in an amount not to exceed $925,000.00 and for other purposes. Services are requested for traveling screens which filter leaves, sticks, and other debris from the water, preventing damage to our critical raw water pumping stations and facilities. It also is used for preventative and corrective maintenance on bar screens or the wastewater side. This request is critical as the city is required to meet requirements of the NPDES permit issued by the Georgia Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Division. Under these permits, the city is required to maintain critical systems to meet discharge limits to protect the public health and the Chattahoochee River water quality. Subject to any questions, this concludes my request. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Stewart?
Move approval.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Second, Mazzacate.
All right, Mr. Mazzacate. Colleagues? Thank you. Please, Mr. Evans, open this vote.
The vote is open.
Yes, I did vote. Ms. Winslow, how do you vote? In favor. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Hillis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Aye for Mr. Hillis. Thank you, sir. I think that concludes the voting.
Yes, the vote is closed at 6 yeas and 0 nays.
All right, thank you. That is unanimously approved. Colleagues, we do have one paper from Hell that is ready. That is item 13.
Item number 13 is 21-00410, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee to ratify agreement C1190023, Emergency Niles Avenue Sewer Improvements and Realignment with Garney Companies, Inc., on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management in accordance with 2-1163, subsection C of Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, and execute change order number 2 to extend the term of the agreement retroactively beginning October 9, 2020, and ending on February 23, 2021 for additional construction services at no additional cost and for other purposes.
Thank you. Browning.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, council members. This is Nikita Browning again.
Afternoon already. Oh, no.
Yeah, 12:01. So this legislation seeks approval for change order number 2 for C1190023 Niles Avenue Sewer Realignment Project with Garney Companies, Inc. The purpose of the project was to eliminate the occurrence of repeat sewer overflows due to severe concrete and debris blockage from an active recycled concrete facility located in Northwest Atlanta near Marietta Boulevard and Niles Avenue. The pipeline was constructed to redirect sanitary flows from a previous 12-inch and 15-inch to a new 18-inch sewer. Roughly 2,100 linear feet of 18-inch ductile pipe was constructed and encased in 36-inch steel sleeves, in addition to the installation of 8 new manholes. This change order seeks to modify the final completion time to February 23rd, 2021, after final completion date, which requires an ordinance as an amendment or change to an expired contract to be made retroactive. The project was impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. There were unforeseen soil conditions and the breakdown of a microtolling bore machine, which required the deployment of an alternative method via hand mining to continue and complete the required scope of work. Subject to your questions, this completes my project overview.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Colleagues, any questions for the...
Approval, sure.
All right, move to be approved by Mr. Shuck. Second, Mr. Kite. Thank you. Colleagues, any questions? Hearing none, speakers in the queue. Mr. Evans, please open the vote.
The vote is open.
All right, thank you. Ms. Winslow, how do you vote? In favor. Thank you. Mr. Hillis, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
The vote is closed at 6 yeas and 0 nays.
That is unanimously approved. Thank you very much. Mr. Evans, are there any other legislative items for the committee to address?
No, Madam Chair, that completes the agenda.
All right. That concludes our action items. Are there any matters for the good of the body? I'll entertain the motion.
So moved.
Thank you, and I will second that. Thank you, colleagues. Great meeting. There's no objection. This meeting is adjourned. How do you get out of here? All right. Thanks, everybody.